crazy amount of transfers happening in the 2025 MLS offseason. A lot going on. A blockbuster of a deal has finally been confirmed. The rumors have been out there for weeks now, but we finally know Jesus Ferreira is on his way to Seattle Sounders, and in return, Leo Chu from the Sounders heading over to FC Dallas. We're going to break the trade down entirely on the show today. Before we get there, guys, if you haven't done so already, man, like the video down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new to Goals TV. And guys, this channel, again, weekly MLS content coming from now through the end of the 2025 season. You're not going to want to miss any of it. And if you're not new to the channel, you probably recognize my guest for today's show. We got Shauyan from Rave Green TV, a fan favorite here on Wake Up MLS. Look, man, I'm glad you're here. We got to break this trade down. I need your thoughts, your unfiltered opinions on my man Jesus Ferreira joining your beloved Seattle Sounders, bro. Let's jump into the reaction. I don't want to waste any more time, man. I'm really curious. We'll start with you because I do believe of the two players, you are technically getting the more prolific one, the more MLS proven player. He is someone that I think causes a little bit of division in terms of opinion, right? Is he, a striker that will level up someone like the Seattle Sounders? Is he more of a 10? Is this what Seattle even need in their frontline attack? Talk to me, bro. You know this team through and through. How are you feeling about this deal?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, this move's basically been confirmed for a while now. It's just now officially the announcements have been made. Tom has spoken about it. I've done a couple of lives talking about it. And so this is basically a part of my own video too, of talking about this move being done. Yeah, I think it's good. I don't think it's bad. That's like basically what I've said every time. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's amazing. I think it's just decent. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. Also, that's a really nice graphic. But yeah, I just think it's decent. I will say, like, I think Ferreira is a good piece to add. I would say too, it's just now a question of where's he gonna play? Is he gonna be a second striker to Morris? Is he gonna be the main, like the first choice striker to replace Rui Diaz, or is he gonna play the 10? And I think Ferreira is good to have as a good depth piece / starter for the team because he can fill in so many roles, kind of like what Christian Roldan does, and to great success. And I think Ferreira has proven he can do that. The problem is,
you think he's a depth piece?
I don't think depth to starter, like in regards, he can, like, Roldan's not a depth piece. I don't mean it in that regard, but like how Roldan can play multiple positions to great effect. And I think that's so crucial. Enough. Yeah, like depth starter piece. I don't know what the right word would be for it, but that's a big attribute I like. But then the question mark is like, sometimes that's good and it can be bad because it's like, where does he actually fit in this team? Because you need to play in in a role for a consistent amount of time, where you can bag goals, you feel comfortable and whatnot. But I think it's a decent move. I'm not necessarily upset about it, but I'm not necessarily like over the moon about it because this is the Sounders' big signing. We've been waiting 2 years for this, and that's the part that kind of bums me out a little bit. Is it's a little bit underwhelming because Sounders, I know, everyone watching knows, Sounders have needed a new striker for ages, for 2 years now, basically since Rui Diaz has fallen off a cliff. And this is the solution, which I'm like, I don't know if this helps us out to that degree. But yeah, that's my trade reaction anyway.
Yeah, I think if the hope from Sounders fans' perspective was, okay, Rui Diaz is out. This is an opportunity now to go out and grab someone that's going to reinvigorate the fan base, get them super excited. And make no mistake, by the way, first off, that is Seattle legend Rui Diaz, right? The all-time goal scorer in your club's history. So you do want to be able to replace him, I guess you could say. Not directly, but replace those goals with someone that gets you excited about what's coming up in 2025. I think Ferreira can do that. Right. We talked about it a lot just personally between you and I. And you know how I feel about this, right? Like, as someone who's watched this guy play as a homegrown player for years now, spent 7 seasons in Dallas from when he was 16, 17, making his debut for the first team through the 21, 22 seasons, which were his best seasons for Dallas. And now moving on, I think he can be great. He can be a fantastic finisher, a very versatile player, can play basically any position across that front three. And even, again, more of a 10 if you need him to, although I think publicly he said he kind of prefers to be the guy up top. he just has a little bit of a different movement, right? He likes to kind of use trailing runs to be in
Like a
those
false
interesting,
nine. False
yeah,
nine.
to be in good positions behind the front line to kind of find those shooting opportunities that, defenses may not be keeping up with throughout any point of the game, right? So I think he'll offer that. He'll give you guys something, and he will bag goals. Let's not make any mistake about that. He will bag goals. I don't know what to really expect, but I'll say this, man, as an FC Dallas fan, I'm not mad at this deal simply
Yeah.
because of what you see on your screen, right? To me, what we got in return was super, super key for this. Okay. So getting a player like Chu, which again, we'll talk about it here in a second, is interesting. I think the 2.3 mil in GAM up to that is fantastic for Dallas, right? We've been kind of in this need for a rebuild now. We got a new coach in Eric Quill. There's rumors that we might be letting go of Velasco, might be letting go of Arriola. It feels like a full-blown rebuild might be underway, and there are some pieces that we absolutely have to reconstruct across the team, specifically in the back line. That's kind of what I'm thinking, as well as the midfield. So the funds that we get from this can be utilized well. And I think Ferreira, more than anything else, was ready for this. He tried to get his move to Russia, right? Didn't really happen because of whatever, MLS blocking that deal. I think he wanted to a move outside of MLS. And now it seems like because of last season with his injury woes, it wasn't really possible. So I think what Seattle offers him is the opportunity to showcase that he still got it.
A
And you got
clean
to
slate.
remember, it's a great opportunity to showcase himself in tournaments like the Club World Cup, right? That's a massive, massive opportunity for him. He probably sees that and is just, kind of chomping at the bit. So I think you're going to get a very motivated Ferreira. I really believe that while you're not super excited, Shauyan, you're going to get a player who's going to be up for the challenge and trying to make the most of his time in Seattle, however long that may be. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Let's react to Leo Chu. How do you feel about that winger? I know you haven't been the biggest fan of him. Maybe it kind of feels like maybe he was always just potential, and we never really saw him live up to that potential in Seattle. How do you feel him moving on to Dallas?
Yeah, I think it's a good move for us to a degree because I don't know if you saw it and maybe people watching is, I mean, last year, Fluminense were going hard to try to get Chu. $3-4 million offers on the table. We didn't take it. And I kept saying, like, dude, we should take this deal. It's a good time. Like, Chu just had his career high season. I don't think it's going to get much better than that. Let's cash in on it. He probably would love to go to one of the best teams in Brazil, play with Marcelo, Thiago Silva. Like, who would not want to? Like, don't be a madman. And it was so evident when Seattle and Weibel declined the deal or didn't respond, whatever it may have been.
Sure.
Then it was so evident this season that he was upset about it. Like, it was just so evident. And I don't like, think about it, put yourself in his shoes. One of the biggest teams in Brazil are coming in with a big offer for you. You get to play alongside some of the best players. And we're just like, no. And so obviously he was evidently frustrated. There was hints here and there that he wasn't happy about it. You could see it in his performances. And it was just obvious that the writing was on the wall that Chu was going to go. And it's just kind of an you don't see this that often, player plus cash trade. Like, I don't know. You don't see these that often anymore. So it's quite interesting. He was thrown into this deal as well.
Yeah, I think so. I to me, the Chu was like a sweetener, right? It's like,
Exactly.
hey, look, like if the GAM's not enough, right? If the DP slot kind of releasing that, the international slot's not enough, hey, you also get someone to kind of directly backfill a spot that may have been open from Dallas's perspective. And look, I don't know how to feel about Chu because it's not like I haven't seen him play. I have. I just always felt like attackers from Seattle's perspective. I've always felt like the Sounders were a much better defensive team than you were a team going forward. You've had players who I've considered to be pretty high caliber, even Jordan Morris, despite what you may say, and that just never maybe met the expectation, maybe never lived up to the hype. Who knows? I think you guys have rotated through a number of those attacking spots, and Layout Shoot kind of has gone in, gone out. You said yourself, right? You already kind of move on and cash in after that career high season he had for you guys. To me, this is just house money that we're playing with from Dallas's perspective,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? Like, we get him in, cool. He may be someone that really offers us a lot of verticality coming out of the back. It all depends on how Quill, the new head coach in Dallas, wants to play. But make no mistake, man, if he ends up like checking a box for us, right? If he ends up feeding Musa consistently and just offering him an outlet out there, out wide that we didn't really have, especially if someone like Velasco does move on, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I will say this: this is the type of signing I would have wanted Dallas to make. I've been a big proponent of trying to sign South American stars that have a chip on their shoulder that will come try to prove themselves in a new league before they make that next step to Europe. I don't know if Chu's going to try and do that or if he wants to go back to Brazil at some point. But I don't mind this. I think this is actually like a pretty safe move for a team
it's low risk, high reward, which I would like too. It's like he's adding like it's like if things work out, fantastic. If they don't, well, it's like it's not the end of the world. I don't mind. And the thing is too, to add on to what you said, is I think if Chu is given consistent game time, and I think what sadly let him down was, and you're kind of seeing this with Pedro, Brian Schwetzer's system is so like cookie cutter, you could say. Like it doesn't allow too much creativity.
Sure.
And that's why we saw Chu maybe struggle a little bit. That's why we're seeing Pedro struggle. I do think Pedro's a way better player than Chu. But giving him a consistent, starting spot and giving him that freedom to be like, go express yourself, and you have a striker like Musa. Like he already did decently with Morris. Imagine when he gets a legitimate striker like Musa to feed off of, to play off of. It's super low risk, high reward. Like I don't rate Chu super highly. Like I think he's a decent piece, but when you look at it in the landscape of a business aspect, it's good business by Dallas.
I think so too. Too. So I feel like this was a pretty fair trade back and forth. I do believe Sounders will get solid production out of Ferreira, but make no mistake that of the two players, that will be the one. Will be the one with the eyes on him, with the pressure on him to kind of start performing. So,
and that's what worries me, and that's the part I don't like.
I mean, look, man, we'll see. No matter what, like I said, he's MLS proven. He's got U.S. men's national team experience. He's someone that I think that will offer something to a team that is more known for their defensive prowess than their attacking ability. So he will be a level up to what Seattle has right now. Speaking of Seattle, now that Ferreira has been signed, we know, right, who the DPs are going to be. And I think this has been very, very interesting. I'm sure you have a ton of thoughts on this, Shauyan, but we saw our boy Fabi kind of put it out there. De La Vega, Morris, and Rusnak, of all players, are your three DPs. The funny part is
Rusnak hasn't even been it hasn't even been officially announced, and Weibel's already out there saying, "Oh, he's our other DP." That's just the funny part to me. He's like,
is Rusnak the question mark here?
No, there's no question mark. I mean, we've known this. This is kind of like common knowledge. We've posted about it across our social medias for weeks now.
Sure. And like, but ability-wise, right? Like with the three DPs, like is Rusnak DP level? Is he the questionable one across these three?
You could argue all three are questionable. I could see every point for all three of them. That's the sad part.
Not De La Vega, right? He just got there.
No. I'm saying this. You can argue for all three. I personally think De La Vega will come good. If there's any guy I'm willing to give grace to, is De La Vega, because it was his first year. There was so much pressure on his shoulders. It was injury riddled. Give him a chance. Maybe we adjust the system. Ferreira can maybe get him more involved in the games. I think we'll see a bigger season from De La Vega. I'm so confident. But it's just like Morris and Rusnak, wrong side of 30. Morris has 2 bad knees. You've seen he can't be the main guy in big games. You've seen the same thing with Rusnak in big games. He ghosted in every single big game last season. He didn't do. Granted, the whole team didn't do anything in the playoffs. We scored 1 goal in the playoffs.
Do you think adding a piece like Ferreira will allow these 3 DPs to reach the level that is required, right, of a DP in a town like Seattle?
I would say a lot yes so, a lot more yes so for De La Vega, a little less yes so for Morris, no for Rusnak. Rusnak's supposed to be the guy that connects everything, but isn't that supposed to be his role, right? Like,
yeah.
And if he's not playing against Minnesota or a center back in goal, he doesn't have big performances.
But maybe competition breeds improvement, right? And I think I've always felt that iron sharpens iron. And I feel like Ferreira is a direct threat to Rusnak and his position, right? And Ferreira's not a DP anymore now coming
And
into this team.
I agree with you, Jose. I agree with you, but there's not that much. It's one player. One player can't make competition for 3 players. If this was like, the thing is, I would so agree with you if you bring in a big number 9 signing, like we talked about off camera. If Seattle, fans were begging for, you bring in, that would maybe help Morris be like, maybe light a fire under him, being like, hey, you got to be more clinical or you're not going to start games.
Yeah.
And that was kind of an issue when Rui Diaz first came in, that's why Morris had to go out wide, was because Rui Diaz was consistent. Same thing with Rusnak, like it was so evident that he was grabbing Weibel by the balls and he's like, either you give me an increase of the DP contract or I'm walking. And Weibel's like, no, don't do this to me, Rusnak. Like, and it's just like, dude, like you're just on all fours for Rusnak. And and it's been said, like, the reason we kept Rusnak was because we didn't want to go out and spend money on another 10. And I'm just like, well, what the, like, that's so like, but again, I don't want to seem like I'm bummed about Ferreira. I do think it's a good piece. Like if I were to give it a rating out of 10, I would give it like a 6.57. But that's because he's the big piece. I think it was so evident, I know, everyone watching. Seattle needed one at least to 2 big attacking pieces. Because as you said, that's what lets down Seattle is their offense. So why would you not bolster that in multiple positions, be it a cam, be it a right mid, be it another striker? If Ferreira was one of maybe 2 to 3 more big pieces, I would give this like closer to an 8 out of 10. But because Ferreira is supposed to be that big guy, which has been evident, and you're as a Dallas fan know this, and you can maybe attest to it, Ferreira can't be that main guy to grab your team by the scruff of the neck and win you games or get you that opportunity to win games. And that's been a big problem because Seattle, like I just said, don't have any big game players.
Yeah, fair enough. And again, we'll see. I still look. You guys got to the Western Conference Final without having any big name attackers to boast about, right?
And the thing is that there's 2 sides of that coin, and I agree with you because Favi brought that up when we had him on, but then Will MLS Moves brought up the other side of the coin. Yes, you made it you were 1 goal away from making an MLS Cup final, so like that should be a good thing. But you could look at it on the other side. It's like, imagine if you bolstered, then you become a surefire MLS Cup finalist team. So there's 2 sides of that coin.
There are 2 sides of that coin. That I guess if there's a third element to introduce here is that, especially with attackers, for whatever reason, it is so risky to spend big. We've just seen too many players, big name players, come to the league and flop because it's unlike any other league in the world, in my opinion. I think this is why Seattle's going in this direction right now. I kind of make this joke with you over text message, right? You guys are the most MLS proven team in the league right now, kind of jokingly, but also very true. And there's a lot to say about that, right? Like sometimes having one big name player, a huge name player to carry your attack doesn't always work. Ask Nashville fans, right? And what Henny Mukhtar's had to try and do with that team for years now, and they can't really get past where they've been. Sometimes just having a good supporting cast that's MLS proven with a few pretty good players mixed in that you feel can step up when the time comes is a little bit of a formula that the front office there in Seattle was just a little more comfortable with, right?
And the thing is too, you're taking the words right out of my mouth because I've said this in multiple videos. You need a healthy balance of everything. MLS proven, but as well that excitement factor, those X piece elements. And Seattle used to have that. And don't get me wrong, like I think we have some good pieces here, but you think about when Seattle had its greatest successes, 2014 and 2019, in my opinion. I'm just looking at old recipes of just Seattle. 2014, you had the likes of Oba, Clint, not just them, but you had supporting cast of Nagel, Papa, Alonso, Pineda. Like, do you not see that? A little bit of that. And then you look at 2019, you had Roman Torres, you had Victor Rodriguez, you had Kim Ki-hee, you had Svensson, you had Rui Diaz, you had Ladero. So you had those 2 pivotal pieces, Oba, Clint, Rui Diaz, Ladero, the supporting cast, Nagel, Papa, Rodriguez, Svensson. Like you have those pieces, but now you're like, you have Vargas, you have Christian. That's it. Like, you have the supporting pieces, and now you can maybe add Ferreira to that mix because I think he is a right piece, but then you're like, who are your two main X factor guys or your one? And De La Vega could be that guy, but you're still missing one more. And it's like this
Fair.
puzzle is still missing, but yet this is it. That's the thing that bums me out and makes me upset because I think it's evident Seattle could be competing with LA Galaxy, Inter Miami, FC Cincinnati. If we saw it that way, like look at our past success, and I'm not saying it's always like cut and dry, but we're not even like I feel like we're now like this is like an 09, 10, 11 version of the Sounders where it's a little more lateral and a little bit more safe. You need to take a little risk. I'm not saying go out and drop 15 mil like Atlanta tried to do on Bergwijn, but it's like show that you want to like at least do something, you know? It's like that's the meme with the guy in the stick, like do something.
Come on, do something.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree. So with that said, what's the expectation? What kind of production from Ferreira would make this deal worth it for you?
That's a good question. I didn't think about it, and I like this question a lot. I'm gonna also add on what expectation you'd want from the three DPs as well. Because honestly, like, let's be honest, Ferrer's like low key a DP signing. Like, I believe he's on like a max TAM deal. Same thing that Morris was on, and now he's a DP because of all the like incentives in his deal made him now a DP. So it's like realistically, Jesus is on a huge deal as well. So he's you could say fourth DP. Like, so, you know, I think for Jordan and Albert, sure, do the same thing you did last year, but show up in some big games, man. Like you, in my opinion, you got to have that same production as you had last, or something similar. It doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't like it could be a little less, but just show up in some big games. I think that's for Albert. For Jordan, it's not gonna happen, but be consistent. You know, be an act like use your left foot sometimes. You know, be clinical. Take your chances. Learn from your almost 10 years of being in MLS. De La Vega, the thing is, De La Vega, and I'm excited about De La Vega. I've always been bullish on De La Vega. I think everyone knows this. I'm such a big fan of the guy. He's a cutie patootie, and he seems like a great dude. He's the X factor here. He could really have a big year, but it depends on the type of system we play, and that's going to be like a whole other discussion in itself. But for me, what De La Vega is, let's think about some like previous wingers. You know, I think one of the most successful ones was, I think, and more recently anyway, is Victor Rodriguez. His only problem was he couldn't stay healthy for a full year, but we all saw the talent he had and how good he can be. So be healthy for a full year. Add that goals, get at least like maybe 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 goals, and then 5 to 6 to 7, 8 assists. Have close to a 20 goal all like in all comps season. Ferreira, I think, I don't know, man. I don't know what, because I think his best year in MLS was 22 goals, and that's really good. I think that's the high end. I think a median year was like about 14 or 15 goals from him.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between there.
2022 was his best season, right? First off, I think if you're pushing for anywhere between 14 and 22, it's going to be tough. For me,
I know.
I kind of said it, you know, on the last video with Edna, we talked about the impact and expectation for Vasquez going into his first season. I think production wise, double-digit goals in any way, shape, or form would be a good first season. But I think what has to also happen, because he's not your traditional attacker or striker, is he has to make everybody around him better. He has to. Like, if he doesn't do that, that to me will feel like a miss when it comes to the trade, right?
A net negative almost, yeah.
Yeah, a net negative. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I feel like that's what this team is looking for, right? I don't think you need a diehard like a Musa, a 20+ goal a year striker to come in and just like take this team to the next level. I think that chemistry is a big thing for Schmetzer. I feel like it is. I feel like that's why he wants to keep someone like Rusnak. I feel like that's why he loves Morris. I feel like that's why at times he was kind of hit or miss with Rui Diaz, was maybe his passion kind of just boiled things over the top in a negative way. But I feel like if Ferreira's going to be successful, it'll be because he's made everyone in that attack, all DPs, all their players, Georgie, anybody else included, right? I think he has to come in and have a positive impact all the way around on the attack, especially if the goal tally doesn't get past like 10 or 12. If it doesn't get past like 10 or 12, then that just means the goals were spread out, and it's a net positive for Seattle anyway. So that's what I think has to happen from my perspective. If it doesn't happen in year one, it's not a failure, but the increasing pressure will be evident. I really believe that,
The thing I
and
will
from the
add
fan base.
I think the thing I'll add with you is I don't think you're at all wrong, but the thing is with Ferreira, you gotta think about it in this way. If this was like a guy we're getting from an outside league, sure, I think that's totally valid. But Ferreira's been in the league for like 5, 6 years now. Obviously, he's joining a whole new team, but I think you have to think about that in there as well. Like, there's not going to be a lot of acclimation because he knows the league. He's played here for a long time, so there has to be kind of somewhere in that middle area of what you're saying and what I'm saying. I think that kind of that gray area. Because
Yeah.
I don't think the excuse of, oh, it's his first year is 100% valid here because
It's
he's
still a new
been
team.
no, I know it's a
It's
new
still he's
team.
moving 2,000 miles across the country. He's playing on turf for the
Oh,
first time. Bro,
oh
I mean,
god.
look, no matter what, he's still a young player. You can say how you want
Sure,
to, but he's
sure.
still a young
He's
player.
youngish. He's young. He's 20. Like,
Young-ish.
yeah,
Yeah, sure. He's young.
he's not a
He's
spring
young.
chicken.
He's youngish, but I do believe he is so motivated to make this deal successful. Like
I think
I
so
don't.
too.
I think personally, he pushed for this. I don't think it's something like Dallas where like, let's find a new home. Let's shop him around. Let's see what we can get for him.
Yeah.
I think they were. I think the club was open to it, but I do believe that Ferreira pushed for this deal to happen, which leads me to believe he will be productive. And again, if it's like 9, 10 goals, but he has like 10 assists, right?
No, it's good.
I would, yeah, I would not be mad at that. I think you look at total goal contributions and see what he can do for this team. That's how Sounders fans have to judge it. If you're basing it just off of, hey, he said he wants to play striker. If he's not getting 15 goals this season, I don't want him here. I think you're setting
It
yourself
de-
up for
it
disappointment.
depends on it depends, as you said, it depends on how we play him. It's also the eye test too. You got to see how he, and that's kind of a big thing with Rusnak and Morris for me is they don't always pass the eye test for me. Like statistically, yeah, they look good, but it's like you can tell it's choppy waters, like it's not smooth. And if that's the case with Ferreira, I'm super happy if that's the case. Like I want to be proven wrong when I say this move is decent. Like, I want Ferreira to, dude, fucking bag 50 goals, man. I'm not gonna complain about that. Like, obviously it's not gonna happen, but I'm just saying, like, do hella well, you know?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I do think, that's one aspect I haven't spoken about and I should is I think he will be motivated. I 100%
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
He's seen Pepe shine in the Eredivisie. He's seen Musa basically take his spot and do pretty well and become an instant fan favorite. And he's kind of like that old forgotten about toy and, he had that move to I mean, like he's not dumb to it. He knows USA fans want him to go to Europe. It's like, either you got to go to Europe, Frere, or we're not going to take you seriously. And so, he's going to want to come in with a point, like a slight chip on his shoulder, not a big one, but a slight one. And
Okay.
yeah, that's how I would look at it.
Yeah, I think there will be pressure on him. I think the Sounders fans will put some of that on him, but I think the expectation is he will come in and do a lot of good for you guys because of the fact the floor right now, attacking wise for Seattle,
So low.
is somewhat low. Yeah.
Yes.
On the other side, it's short and sweet. I mean, with Chu, he's literally house money. So as long as he can stay healthy and offer some value in terms of stretching defenses, being an outlet when possible. If he gets, more than a few goal contributions in any way, shape, or form,
If he
I'm
if he
fucking
does
happy.
as good as his best year with us, which was I think about like 11 or 12 goal contributions in total, that's a win-win right there.
I agree. I don't even want to
Yeah.
spend any time on that because I think right now it's still way too early to even try to understand what he could do with this Dallas team that is still, by the way, rebuilding and still maybe moving some key pieces on. So we'll see. Lastly, guys, Arriola, right? We know this is coming. I'm kind of curious to see how you feel about this because if anybody has watched Wake Up MLS ever in the history of the show, you know how I feel. Nothing against him as a person. I'm sure he's fucking awesome. I just don't rate Paul Arriola. I think he's had one great year, and in that one great year, it actually served him very well. He got tons of caps to an extent with the U.S. men's national team. Didn't make the World Cup roster, but it's like he was close. He was cut like on the final day, and so like that's how good of a one-off season he had that year. Since then, we haven't really seen it, right? For a number of reasons. I don't think he's bad. I think he can be versatile, right? He can play winger. He has got some experience at outside back as well. I guess he has some leadership qualities, right? He was Dallas's captain the last few seasons, and so yeah, there's some of all that wrapped in. But in all honesty, man, I'll package him up for you and fucking send him off. You know what I mean? Like I not even hating. I just don't rate him as a player, and I would love to get him off the books. So I don't even care if we don't really get anything in return for Arriola. I think he could. I don't know, he could be a depth piece for you guys. How do you feel?
I'm kind of in that same boat as you. It's just like if you everyone remembers Kellen Rowe, Like, it just kind of reminds me of like a Kellen Rowe 2.0 type of move, because it's like, I don't think he's maybe on the same par or not that much better than Alex Roldan. I'd rather just play the youngsters and Reed Baker Whiting and Cody Baker over him to develop them. I don't think he's any better than Paul Rothrock or Georgie, who are younger and can only get better. That's what I'm just like.
Georgie's definitely better. Georgie's definitely Rothrock too, arguably. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's like, it depends on the money too, because apparently, like, Dallas were going to give him for peanuts, but now it's just like they went back like, actually, I feel like we're getting swindled here, so maybe we aren't going to give him for peanuts. So it's like those metrics need to come up, but either way, I just feel like it's a useless piece. Like, it's just like, we don't really need him, regardless. Even if it's for, I just don't want to waste the time. I don't want to waste the money, even if it's for $1 or 1 cent or $100. Like, I just
he's a depth piece. He's a depth piece, and like I will say this, like, you guys have had some injury woes, right? I mean, dude, last season, how many games did De La Vega miss, right? I think that, yes, you have some better options, don't get me wrong. And I think Arriola, like, he's only getting older, right? I think his best days technically are behind him. There could be some
100%.
resurgence,
No, 100%.
right? There could be some, but I think this deal's just about done. It almost fell through, like you said. It's just about done. And we have I think, a good sense of what we can expect attacking-wise with these new signs the Sounders have made. I think now with Chu's departure, you can add a U22, but that's basically it. So, Arriola should be moving on within the next day or two. I really do believe we're super close to that deal being done. And from there, I'll just be glad to get him off the books. And I don't think it's going to be anything you guys can write home about, right? As like a signing. And equally, I don't think this is going to be a missed player. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's someone that we're going to be like, oh man, like, it would have been great to have Arriola because this player's injured.
You're punching air over Arriola.
Yeah. I don't think so. I just don't see it happening. But at the same time, his days in Dallas weren't that bad. They were just above average to an extent, right? Like, I think he offered quite a bit when he did play well, but there were more than a few games where I was just holding my head, doing the pep scratch on my fucking forehead because he didn't make the right decision, or like, he.
And now I'm gonna have to deal with that. Oh, man.
But look, I think at the end of the day,
you're really selling this, Jose.
I think it's just me being realistic. He could end up having a first decent season for Seattle. I could end up putting my foot in my mouth entirely. But even if he comes in and has a pretty decent season for Seattle, like I said, I won't miss having Arriola. I just won't. I think I'm happy he is going to be playing somewhere that he maybe feels appreciated. I'm happy that Dallas is able to kind of move on and get something, whatever it may be for him. And I'm ready to just start this new Eric Quill era. So all in all, man, Ferreira and Arriola, who, by the way, I've been told are pretty damn good friends. Both going to have some chemistry going to Seattle, which
good for them.
I mean, bro, but it means that they're both going to have some pretty good chemistry going into this new team. So you're going to want that, whether you like it or not. He's on your team. You're going to have to support him.
I know.
I had to do it for the last few seasons. So, you're welcome, Shauyan. You're welcome, man.
Thanks.
Any final thoughts before we depart here?
No, I don't think so.
You look excited. You look excited. I can tell.
Guys, I'm really trying to be. Trust me, I'm really trying to be, but it's just like, it's okay. All in all, it's because we ended off on a sour note. Like, if we just ended with Ferreira, I would be like, okay, I can like.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I had to talk about it because it is another Dallas player moving to Seattle.
But isn't that so weird too? Yeah. What the?
I don't know, man. I mean, look,
2 Dallas players, 2 like arguably like C Team USA players. I'm just like, why?
You know what's crazy is that if Galaxy had actually tried to pull off that deadline move a year and a half ago, for Arriola, they were going to throw $2 million in GAM over our way as like a record, I think for Dallas anyway, to get that deal done, and it didn't get over the line in time. I just imagine, right, how this would have all kind of gone down had that deal actually happened. But look, we'll find out, man. Maybe, like I said, maybe he's revitalized. Maybe he comes in, fucking just fits right in and offers you guys something. And if he does, like I said, I will be happy for him, 100%. But I'm not mad that he's moving on. So anyway, look, man, this is a great video, Shauyan. Sincerely, man, thank you for making time. I appreciate it. We'll see how these deals kind of net out. The preseason's right around the corner. So guys, again, I'm going to link Rave Green TV down in the description below. Go check out Shauyan's channel. Go follow. If you're a Sounders fan, go follow, go subscribe. Make sure you're locked in. He's got a lot of content coming for the 2025 season. And I'm sure we're all curious as to how the Seattle Sounders, the Western Conference finalist Seattle Sounders, will be locked in for the 2025 season. All right. Now, like I said it before, if you haven't done so already, like the video down below, subscribe to Goals TV for more weekly MLS content here on the Wake Up MLS series. All right. From everybody here, my name is Jose. That's Shauyan. We'll catch you guys next time.